The message arrived on a Tuesday, a simple ping that changed everything. The United Nations Secretary-General stared at the holographic display hovering above her desk. The alien text had been translated into all Earth languages simultaneously. To the species of Earth, the Galactic Olympic Committee extends an invitation to participate in the 457th Galactic Olympics. 6 months later, Jack Carter stood on the observation deck of the transport ship, watching as the massive Olympic station came into view. The structure was enormous, a spinning wheel of metal and light that housed representatives from over 300 sentient species. Impressive, isn't it? Lisa Donovan stepped up beside him. Her official title was Technical Advisor, but everyone knew she was the brains behind Earth's first Olympic team. Jack nodded. Hard to believe we're actually here. His hand unconsciously touched the medal in his pocket. Gold from the Earth Olympics 12 years ago. It felt like a child's toy now, compared to what they were facing. Remember the plan, Lisa said quietly. We're here to learn and compete honorably. Humanity needs to make a good first impression. The transport docked with a gentle bump. Jack gathered the 20 athletes who made up Earth's delegation. They had been selected from across the globe, the best Earth had to offer in various disciplines. Some, like Jack, were former Olympians. Others were specialists in emerging sports or had physical abilities that might translate well to alien competitions. Stay together, Jack told them. Remember your training about alien customs and try not to stare. That last instruction proved impossible to follow as they entered the main concourse. Beams of all descriptions moved through the vast space. Some floated above the ground. Others had multiple limbs or eyes. A group of crystalline entities communicated through pulses of light. A creature that seemed made entirely of flowing liquid carried equipment in self-formed pouches within its body. Several aliens stopped to observe the humans, some making gestures that their translators indicated were greetings or welcome. The bipeds from Sol 3 rumbled a massive entity with armored plates covering its body. Welcome to your first games. Thank you, Jack replied, trying to match the formal tone their cultural briefings had suggested. Earth is honored to participate. As they made their way toward the human quarters, Jack noticed a group watching them intently. These aliens stood on 2 legs, though they were taller than humans, with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Their eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, narrowed as the humans passed. Zornians, Lisa whispered. The current champions. They've won the overall medal count for the last 10 games. One of the Zornians stepped forward, blocking their path. Sol 3, it said, the translator giving its voice a melodic quality that somehow still conveyed disdain. Your presence here is premature, but protocol must be observed. Jack felt his face flush, but kept his expression neutral. We look forward to competing. The Zornian's skin flashed a pattern of deep purple. I'm sure you do, though competing might be an optimistic term for what you'll be doing. It stepped aside with a fluid motion that reminded Jack of a snake. Later, in their assigned quarters, the team gathered for a briefing. The rooms were comfortable but clearly designed with approximations of human needs. Don't let them get to you, Jack told the group. We knew some species would look down on us. It's more than that, Lisa said, studying her tablet. I've been reviewing the preliminary event classifications. According to the committee, humans are only eligible for endurance categories. What? Samantha Wright, their marathon runner, leaned forward. But we brought sprinters, weightlifters, gymnasts. Lisa's expression was grim. The committee has classified humans as endurance capable only. We're restricted from strength, speed, and agility events. That can't be right, Jack said. We need to file a protest. Already tried, Lisa replied. The response was not encouraging. She played a recording. A Zornian official speaking in the formal tones of bureaucracy. The classification is final. Species new to galactic competition often misunderstand their own capabilities relative to the galactic standard. Humans may appeal after completing one full Olympic cycle. Jack looked around at his team's disappointed faces. So they've stacked the deck against us before we even start. Seems that way, Lisa said. Jack's jaw tightened. Then we'll just have to show them what humans do best, overcoming impossible odds. The next morning, Jack and Lisa attended the rules briefing in the central amphitheater. The room was filled with representatives from every competing species. Jack noticed that most delegations had sent only 1 or 2 members. Earth had insisted on bringing their full team. A tall alien with 6 arms and skin that seemed to shimmer with its own light stepped onto the central platform. The translator in Jack's ear identified this being as Stylnar, chair of the Galactic Olympic Committee. "Welcome, competitors." Gylnar's voice echoed through the chamber. "We gather for the 457th Galactic Games in the spirit of fair competition." Lisa snorted quietly. Jack nudged her to stay silent. As always, competition categories are determined by evolutionary physiological capabilities. Gylnar continued. This ensures no species has an unfair advantage due to their natural development. Holographic displays appeared, showing the various event categories. Jack quickly scanned for the human assignments. As Lisa had discovered, they were limited to just a handful of endurance events. After the briefing, Jack approached the classification desk. A bored-looking alien with features like a cross between an insect and a lizard looked up at him. "I need to file a formal protest about the human classification," Jack said. The alien blinked slowly. "Species. Human. From Earth. Ah. New arrivals." The alien tapped on a screen. "Your protest has been noted. The committee will review it in due time." "We need this resolved before the competitions begin," Jack insisted. The alien's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. That would be highly irregular. Classification reviews typically take 1 to 2 cycles. Cycles? How long is? Approximately 50 of your Earth years. Jack's face flushed with anger. That's completely unreasonable. We need to speak directly with the chair. The alien seemed unimpressed. Chair Gylnar does not take meetings with individual competitors. However, it slid a small device across the counter. "You may submit a formal petition here." Back in their quarters, Lisa was already hard at work. Screens floated around her as she reviewed data from previous games. "This makes no sense," she muttered as Jack entered. "Look at these physiological comparisons." Jack looked at the charts she had compiled. "What am I seeing?" "The Zornians." Lisa pointed to a series of measurements. "They're classified as omni-capable and allowed to compete in virtually every category. But their endurance ratings are actually lower than humans in several metrics. So why are we restricted while they get to compete in everything?" Lisa's eyes narrowed. "That's what I intend to find out." That afternoon, the Earth team visited the training facilities. The complex was vast, with environments simulating dozens of different planetary conditions. Some rooms had higher or lower gravity. Others contained different atmospheres, requiring some species to wear protective gear. Samantha Wright, their marathon runner, was testing the track in the endurance facility. Jack watched as she effortlessly outpaced a 6-legged alien that had been training when they arrived. "Not bad for an endurance-only species," Jack commented. A deep voice responded from behind him. "Endurance is nothing to be ashamed of." Jack turned to see one of the Alkari, a bird-like species with brilliant plumage. Its translator badge flickered as it spoke. "I am Krita, team leader for the Alkari delegation." Jack introduced himself and Lisa. "We have observed your situation," Krita said, voice lowered. "It is not uncommon for newcomers to face challenges with classification." "You mean discrimination," Lisa said bluntly. Krita's feathers ruffled slightly. "The Zornians have led the committee for many cycles. Their influence is significant." "So they're cheating," Jack said. "I would not use such terms openly," Krita cautioned, "but know that other delegations are watching with interest. The humans are not the first to question Zornian methods. After Krita left, Lisa turned to Jack. "We need to be careful. Politics here are complex." "I don't care about politics," Jack replied. "I care about fair play. If we want to expose what's happening, we need evidence, not just complaints." Jack watched as Frank Rodriguez, their Navy SEAL, tested the underwater training tank, staying submerged longer than any of the other competitors. "Then let's get evidence," Jack said. "And in the meantime, let's show them what humans can really do, even within their rigged system." Lisa smiled for the first time since they'd arrived. "Now you're thinking like a human." The first week of preliminary events began, and despite their limited options, the human team was determined to make an impression. Word had spread through the station about the new bipeds and their classification struggles. Some aliens seemed amused, others curious, and a few genuinely sympathetic. Samantha Wright was scheduled for the first human competition, a long-distance run designed to test sustained movement over varied terrain. The course wound through multiple environments with different gravity levels. Humans were allowed to compete since it was classified as pure endurance. "Remember your training," Jack told her before the event. "Pace yourself through the gravity changes. Don't let the others bait you into going too fast too early." Samantha nodded. Her face showed the calm focus that had made her a champion on Earth. "I got this." The competitors lined up at the starting area. Beside Samantha stood beings with 4 legs, others with specialized breathing organs, and one that seemed to glide on a cushion of air. A Zornian competitor gave her a dismissive glance. "The bite will not last past the second gravity shift," the Zornian said loudly to another competitor. The translator made the mockery clear. Samantha said nothing, simply stretching her legs. The signal came, and they were off. The first segment was standard gravity, and Samantha stayed in the middle of the pack, conserving energy. As they entered the first transition zone, gravity increased to twice Earth normal. Several competitors surged ahead, their bodies adapted to high-gravity worlds. Samantha's pace slowed, but she kept moving steadily. Jack and Lisa watched from the observation area. "She's doing well," Lisa said, checking the biometric data on her tablet. Heart rate elevated but within parameters. By the halfway point, the field had spread out considerably. The Zornian was near the front, moving with graceful, long strides. Samantha remained in the middle, her face showing strain but determination. Then came the third section, low gravity. Here, Samantha's careful training paid off. While others bounded too high and wasted energy controlling their landings, she maintained an efficient rhythm. She began to pass competitors who had started too fast. Back on Earth, billions watched. The Galactic Olympics had captured human imagination like nothing before. Schools had special viewing sessions. Workplaces allowed employees to watch during breaks. Everyone cheered as Samantha steadily advanced. In the final stretch, a punishing uphill section in high gravity, the leaders began to falter. The Zornian competitor still led, but its graceful stride had become labored. 3 others had dropped out entirely, their bodies overtaxed. Samantha kept coming, step after step, breathing hard but steady. She passed one struggling alien, then another. The Zornian looked back, its 3 eyes widening in surprise as the human drew closer. With 200 meters left, Samantha was in 4th place. The crowd, made up of beings from across the galaxy, began to cheer the human's persistence. "She's not going to win," Jack said, "but that's one hell of a first showing." Lisa grinned. "Watch her finish." In the final stretch, Samantha found another gear. While the Zornian maintained its lead, Samantha passed the remaining competitors to cross the line in 2nd place. The Zornian had won, but the human, the supposedly inferior bite, had taken silver. The observation area erupted in sound. Many species seemed genuinely impressed. Jack and Lisa rushed to meet Samantha as she exited the course. "That was amazing," Jack said, helping her to a recovery area. Samantha gulped water, her face flushed but smiling. "Did you see their faces when I passed them?" They didn't think I could even finish. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Nick Patel prepared for his event. Tactical simulation. As a chess grandmaster, he was Earth's representative for the mental competitions. The Zornians had allowed humans into these events, perhaps believing that human minds would be as limited as they claimed human bodies were. Time to prove them wrong again, Nick said, studying the complex game board before him. Back in their quarters that evening, the team celebrated Samantha's silver medal. It was just one event, but it had made a statement. Humans could compete and excel, even in a rigged system. This is just the beginning, Jack told them. We're going to surprise them in every event they let us enter. What none of them knew was that Lisa had been busy with more than just coaching. Late into the night, after the others had gone to sleep, she continued her investigation into the classification systems, and what she would find would change everything. Lisa had not slept in 36 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the screens floating around her. The room was dark except for their blue glow. She had gained access to the Olympic Biological Database through a backdoor provided by an anonymous source, likely one of the species that Krita had hinted were also unhappy with Zornian dominance. What she found confirmed her suspicions and revealed something even more significant. The door slid open. Jack entered with 2 cups of coffee. "You missed Nick's match," he said, handing her a cup. "He won. Destroyed a Mindlink master from the Tauran Collective." Lisa barely looked up. "Good. That's good." Jack sat beside her. "What's got you so focused?" "Look at this," Lisa said, pulling up a detailed biological comparison chart. "I've been studying human physiology compared to other species. The committee claims we're endurance only, but that's not the whole truth." "What do you mean?" "Humans aren't just endurance specialists. We're apex persistence predators." She expanded a series of charts. Most species evolve for either short bursts of activity or specialized environmental adaptations. But humans, we evolved to literally chase prey until it dropped from exhaustion. Jack leaned closer. "So we're good at endurance. That's why they let us compete in those events." "No, it's more than that." Lisa's eyes lit up with excitement. "Our combination of thermal regulation, psychological determination, and physical resilience is actually rare in the galaxy. We sweat to cool ourselves. We can mentally push through pain. We heal from injuries while continuing to function. And that's unusual. Incredibly so." Lisa pulled up comparison charts. Most species need rest periods. They overheat. They shut down when injured. The Zornians, for example, can sprint faster than us and lift more, but they need recovery time. Humans can just keep going. Jack's brow furrowed. "So why classify us as limited?" "That's the real discovery." Lisa lowered her voice. "The Zornians have been manipulating the classifications for centuries. Not just for us, for any species that might challenge their dominance." She showed him records going back hundreds of years. Species after species, entering the games full of hope, then being restricted to categories where they couldn't excel. "It's systematic," Jack whispered. "They're ensuring they stay on top." "Exactly. And there's more." Lisa pulled up genetic data. "I think the Zornians might be enhancing their athletes. Look at these markers in their genetic profiles. They've changed over the last 5 games." Jack stared at the screen. "Can you prove it?" "Not yet, but I'm working on it." A chime sounded, indicating another human event was about to begin. Jack stood. "Keep digging. But be careful, if they're going this far to maintain their advantage." "I know." Lisa nodded. "Don't worry about me." Frank Rodriguez was preparing for the aquatic endurance event. As a former Navy SEAL, he had trained his body to function efficiently underwater. The event was designed for semi-aquatic species, but the rules specified endurance, not speed, which created a loophole humans could exploit. Jack found Frank in the preparation area, doing breathing exercises. "How's it looking?" Jack asked. Frank glanced at the competition. Beings with gills, webbed appendages, and specialized breathing organs. They're better adapted to water, Frank said, but they expect to win easily. They'll be overconfident. Jack nodded. Lisa's made some interesting discoveries about human capabilities. Use that persistence that got you through SEAL training. Just keep going. When the event began, Frank entered the water alongside the others. The course was a series of underwater obstacles in a massive tank, with participants required to complete tasks while submerged. Most species move faster than Frank, but they also surface more frequently to rest. Frank just kept going. Slow but steady, task after task. While others took breaks, he continued. By the halfway point, the audience had noticed the humans' unusual strategy. The bike doesn't stop, one spectator commented. Is it machine or flesh? Near the end, Frank was in third place. The leaders, a gill breather from an ocean world, and one of the liquid-bodied beings, were far ahead but tiring visibly. Frank's motions remained methodical, conserving oxygen, moving with purpose. He finished third, securing another medal for Earth. As he climbed out of the tank, even some of the competitors looked at him with new respect, and perhaps a hint of concern. In the stands, a group of Zornian officials watched with narrowed eyes. One spoke quietly into a communication device. Something about the humans was starting to worry them. News of human medals spread quickly through the Olympic station. Earth's team had secured silver and bronze despite being restricted to only a few events. Other species began to take notice. Some approached the humans with curiosity, others with newfound respect. Jack and Lisa met with their team to discuss their next move. They gathered in their common area, away from potential listening devices. We need to use what we've learned, Jack said. The rules are rigged, but they still have rules. We need to find loopholes. Lisa nodded. I've been studying the event definitions. There are several competitions where the wording doesn't specifically exclude humans, even though they weren't designed for us. Like what? Asked Karen Lee, a rock climber from Colorado. Lisa brought up a holographic display. Vertical traversal endurance. It's meant for insectoid species with specialized gripping appendages, but it only specifies endurance while climbing vertical surfaces. Nothing says you need extra limbs. Karen's eyes lit up. That's basically what I do. Exactly, Lisa said. And there's more. The Thermal Regulation Challenge was designed for species from extreme environments, but humans have one of the most efficient cooling systems in the galaxy. We sweat. Jack smiled. We find every loophole and exploit it. Show them what humans can do even when the deck is stacked against us. The meeting was interrupted by a soft knock. Jack opened the door to find Krita, the Alkari representative, looking nervous. May I enter? The bird-like alien asked. I bring information and a proposal. Jack invited Krita inside. The Alkari looked around to ensure they were alone. Your species has impressed many, Krita said. The Zornians are concerned. Good, Jack replied. Krita's feathers ruffled in what might have been amusement, perhaps, but their concern makes them dangerous. They have dominated the games for 500 cycles. They will not surrender that position easily. We're just competing fairly, Lisa said, within their rules. Yes, and that is why I am here. Krita lowered his voice. The Alkari and several other delegations have long suspected the Zornians of enhancement, genetic modification, Lisa supplied. Krita nodded. We lack proof, but perhaps, together. Jack exchanged glances with Lisa. We're already investigating, he admitted. I suspected as much. Your technical advisor has been active in the data networks. Lisa raised an eyebrow. You've been watching me. Many eyes are on the humans now, Krita said simply. Not all are hostile. The alliance was formed that night. The Alkari would provide access to historic records and testimony from previous games. The humans would contribute Lisa's technical skills and their continued participation in unexpected events. The next day, Karen Lee entered the Vertical Traversal Challenge. The event took place on an enormous wall with varying textures and angles. Some sections overhung drastically. Others had smooth surfaces with minimal holds. The insectoid competitors looked at Karen with confusion. One, with 6 limbs covered in natural adhesive, chittered something that translated as, "The bite cannot compete here. It will fall." Karen just smiled and chalked her hands. When the signal came, the insectoids scurried up the wall with impressive speed. Karen climbed more slowly but with remarkable efficiency. Where the aliens used multiple limbs and natural advantages, she employed technique and strategy. At a particularly difficult overhang, 2 competitors fell, unable to maintain their grip. Karen methodically worked through the section, finding the smallest holds, using her legs to take weight off her arms. The audience grew quiet, watching the humans' progress with fascination. Even some Zornian spectators leaned forward, unable to hide their interest. Karen didn't win. She finished 4th, just outside the medals. But her performance sent a message. Humans could compete anywhere if given the chance. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, a young athlete named Steve Peters prepared for the Thermal Regulation Challenge. The event required competitors to perform physical tasks while the environment shifted between extreme heat and cold. Remember, Lisa told him before he entered, humans evolved on a planet with wildly varying climates. Our ability to maintain core temperature through sweating is unique. Use it. As Steve entered the chamber, Jack received an urgent message from Lisa. She had found something in the Zornian genetic data, definitive proof of enhancement. With the help of their new allies, they could finally expose the cheating that had continued for centuries. The Galactic Olympics were about to change forever. The Thermal Regulation Challenge was unlike anything Steve had experienced. The chamber shifted rapidly between freezing cold and blistering heat. Competitors had to complete physical tasks at each temperature while their bodies struggled to adapt. Many species had evolved specialized systems for extreme environments. Some had insulating layers for cold. Others had heat-dissipating structures. None had the human combination of sweat glands, shivering, and behavioral adaptations. Steve worked methodically through each task. In the heat phases, his body produced sweat that evaporated and cooled him. In the cold, he shivered to generate heat. The alien competitors watched with surprise as the human maintained performance through each transition. The bike adapts quickly, one spectator commented. Most species excel in one environment, but struggle in others. Steve finished 3rd, earning another bronze for Earth. The human team was building a collection of medals, all silver and bronze, but impressive for their limited event access. Meanwhile, Samantha Wright prepared for the Ultra Marathon, the most grueling endurance event of the Games. It would take competitors across varied terrains and gravity conditions for over 30 hours of continuous movement. "This is our event," Jack told her during preparation. "This is what humans evolved to do." The favorite was a Zornian champion named Xeltor, who had won the event in the past 3 games. Lisa had been monitoring Xeltor's biometric data through their allies' access to the Olympic systems. "There's something unusual about Xeltor's physiology," Lisa told Jack. "His recovery rate is faster than any Zornian on record. His oxygen efficiency has improved 40% since the last games." "The enhancements you suspected?" Lisa nodded. "If we can prove it during competition, the entire Zornian team could be disqualified." The ultramarathon began with 53 competitors from 38 species. Xeltor took an early lead, moving with graceful efficiency. Samantha settled into the middle of the pack, as she had in her first race. Earth watched with anticipation. Samantha had become a symbol of human potential. Children wore shirts with her image. News programs featured experts discussing the unique human capacity for endurance. Hour after hour, the race continued. The field spread out. Some competitors dropped out, their bodies unable to sustain the effort. Xeltor maintained his lead, but observers noticed something strange. The Zornian's veins had begun to glow with a faint blue light. His movements, which should have shown fatigue, remained unnaturally smooth. At the 18-hour mark, Samantha had moved into 5th place. Her face showed exhaustion, but her pace remained steady. Ahead of her, a competitor stumbled and had to be removed from the course. Another slowed dramatically on a high-gravity section. "She's moving up," Jack said, watching from the observation room. "And Exceltor is showing signs of enhancement." Lisa worked furiously at her console. "I'm collecting the data. The medical scanners along the course are picking up anomalies in his system." By the 24-hour mark, only 15 competitors remained. Samantha had moved into 3rd place. Zeltor still led, but his glowing veins had intensified, visible even through his skin. "What's happening to him?" Jack asked. "The enhancements are becoming unstable," Lisa explained. "They're designed for maximum performance, but his body is beginning to reject them." The race entered its final stage, a punishing uphill section in high gravity. Samantha had moved into 2nd place. Ahead, Zeltor's stride became less smooth. He stumbled but recovered. "She's going to catch him," Jack whispered. The gap narrowed. Samantha's face showed pure determination. Each step was an effort, but she kept coming. The spectators grew silent, watching the humans' relentless pursuit of the faltering champion. With 1 kilometer remaining, Zeltor looked back. His 3 eyes widened in shock as he saw Samantha less than 50 meters behind. He tried to increase his pace, but his body wouldn't respond. Samantha kept coming. 500 meters from the finish, Zeltor stumbled again. This time, he fell to one knee. His veins pulsed with unnatural light. Medical alarms sounded along the course. Samantha passed the fallen champion. She didn't sprint or celebrate. She simply continued her steady pace across the finish line, becoming the first human to win gold at the Galactic Olympics. Zeltor collapsed entirely before reaching the finish. Medical teams rushed to the fallen Zornian. Scanners confirmed what Lisa had suspected: illegal genetic enhancement designed to improve endurance and recovery. The scandal was about to break wide open. Chaos erupted across the Olympic station. The medical scans of Exceltor had been broadcast on the public feeds, visible to all species. The evidence was clear: genetic modifications designed to enhance performance, a direct violation of the most sacred rule of the games. The Zornian delegation immediately called for the results to be sealed pending an investigation. Chair Xylnar, himself a Zornian, ordered a temporary suspension of all events. "This is becoming a diplomatic incident," Lisa told Jack as they watched the news feeds in their quarters. "The Zornians are trying to contain the damage." A message chimed on Lisa's tablet. It was from Krita. Emergency session of the Olympic Committee called. All delegation leaders required to attend. Human presence specifically requested. Jack looked grim. "They're going to try to discredit us." "Let them try," Lisa said, gathering her data files. "We have the evidence." The committee chamber was packed with representatives from every competing species. The circular room had tiers of seating surrounding the central speaking area. Chair Xylnar sat on an elevated platform. His skin shifted colors rapidly, a sign of agitation. "We gather to address a most serious accusation," Xylnar began, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "The human delegation has implied that Champion Exceltor employed illegal enhancements." "We don't imply it," Jack interrupted, stepping into the central area. "We can prove it." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many delegation leaders leaned forward, interested. "The medical evidence is being reviewed," Xylnar said dismissively. "But there is a larger concern. The humans have demonstrated a disturbing pattern since their arrival. They have questioned classifications established by experts. They have entered events not suited to their physiology. And now they make accusations against our most honored champion." Lisa stepped forward, joining Jack. "We entered only events permitted by the rules. We competed fairly. We won medals through effort and adaptation." "The human raises another point," Xylnar continued as if she hadn't spoken. their unusual physiology. Many delegations have expressed concern about the human's nature. Images appeared on the large screens around the chamber, scenes from Earth's history. Wars, weapons, violence. The humans evolved as predators, Vazilar said. Their history is marked by conflict and destruction. Is this a species we wish to elevate in galactic society? Jack's face flushed with anger, but Lisa touched his arm, urging calm. Chair Vazilar seems intent on changing the subject, came a voice from the delegation seats. It was Krita, standing tall, his feathers raised. We are not here to judge Earth's history. We are here to address cheating in the Olympic Games. Alleged cheating, Vazilar corrected. Let us see the evidence, called another delegation leader, a crystalline being whose body refracted light in complex patterns. Lisa stepped forward, with the committee's permission. She connected her tablet to the chamber's display system. The screens filled with data, genetic comparisons, performance metrics, medical scans. This shows Zornian baseline physiology, Lisa explained, indicating a series of charts. And this shows Celtor's current genetic structure. The differences are not natural variation. They are engineered improvements to oxygen processing, muscle recovery, and endurance. The chamber erupted in discussion. Many delegation leaders conferred with their advisors. The evidence was technical but clear. One isolated case does not indicate. Vazilar began. It is not isolated, Lisa interrupted. She brought up new data. Here are scans from 5 other Zornian athletes at these games. All show similar modifications. Zelenar's skin turned deep purple, a sign of extreme agitation in Zornians. And here, Lisa continued, bringing up historical data, are records from the past 5 games, showing the progressive implementation of these enhancements in the Zornian team. Where did you obtain this data? Vazilar demanded. From your own systems, Lisa replied calmly. You didn't protect your archives well enough. This is a violation of privacy. Vazilar's voice rose. The humans have hacked secure systems. We observed discrepancies and investigated, Jack said, as any competitor would when facing an uneven playing field. But there is more, Lisa added, bringing up the final piece of evidence, the classification systems that had been manipulated for centuries. The Zornians haven't just enhanced their athletes. They've systematically suppressed competition by manipulating species classifications. The chamber fell silent as the delegations processed this revelation. The Zornians had not just cheated, they had rigged the entire system for generations. The Galactic Olympics were about to undergo the greatest crisis in their long history. In the days following the emergency session, the Olympic station buzzed with unprecedented activity. The Galactic Council, which normally remained separate from sporting matters, dispatched representatives to oversee the investigation. Many delegations had filed formal protests, demanding a complete review of all past games. Chair Vazilar had been removed from his position pending investigation. The Zornian delegation was under constant supervision, their athletes barred from further competition. Jack and Lisa found themselves at the center of attention. Delegations sought them out to offer support or information. Species that had never interacted with humans now approached with curiosity and respect. You've changed everything, Krita told them during a private meeting. Not just the games. The balance of power in the galaxy. We just wanted fair competition, Jack replied. Perhaps, but you've exposed corruption that has influenced galactic politics for centuries. The Zornians used their Olympic dominance to enhance their standing in the Council, secure trade agreements, even influence colonial rights. The Alkari wasn't exaggerating. News feeds reported protests on dozens of worlds, species demanding reviews of agreements made with the Zornian Empire. On the 5th day after the revelations, a new interim chair was appointed, a neutral representative from an ancient species known for their dedication to justice. The remaining human athletes were invited to compete in any events they qualified for under revised fair classifications. The final meeting of the Olympic Committee took place on what would have been the closing day of the Games. Jack represented Earth, sitting among the delegation leaders in the Great Chamber. The interim chair, a tall being with silvery skin named Talax, called the meeting to order. "We have completed our preliminary investigation," Talax announced. "The evidence compiled by the human delegation, along with testimony from multiple species, has been verified by independent experts." The chamber was silent, every being waiting for the ruling. The Zornian delegation has been found guilty of systematic genetic enhancement spanning multiple Olympic cycles. Furthermore, the evidence confirms deliberate manipulation of classification systems to disadvantage potential competitors. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The committee hereby strips the Zornian Empire of all medals awarded during the past 5 Olympic cycles. Additionally, the Zornians are banned from competition for the next 3 cycles. Jack felt a sense of vindication, but also concern. The Zornians were a powerful empire. Their humiliation would have consequences. As for the humans, Talax continued, "The committee extends its formal apology for the unfair treatment upon your arrival. All human medals are confirmed and validated. Earth is granted full participant status for all future games." Applause erupted from many delegations. Jack nodded his thanks to Talax. Furthermore, Talax raised a hand for silence. The entire classification system will be restructured by a diverse panel of experts from across the galaxy. No single species will have undue influence in the future. After the meeting, Jack found Lisa in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "We did it," he said, joining her at the viewport. "We did more than we intended," she replied. "The Galactic Council has invited Earth to send representatives. They say our perspective would be valuable in upcoming discussions." Jack smiled. Not bad for a bunch of persistence predators from a backwater planet. The next day, the human team gathered for the closing ceremony. The events had been shortened due to the investigations, but tradition would be maintained. Each species would march with their flag, celebrating the spirit of competition. As the procession began, Jack was surprised to be approached by Talax. "The committee has a request," the interim chair said. "It is customary for a distinguished competitor to carry the Olympic flame for the next cycle. We would be honored if Samantha Wright would accept this duty." No first-time participant had ever been given this honor. Jack found Samantha, who accepted with tears in her eyes. As the ceremony concluded, Jack watched Samantha light the symbolic flame that would burn until the next games. The blue fire rose high, visible throughout the station. Earth's transport would depart the next day. Their delegation had arrived as curiosities, barely tolerated newcomers. They would leave as respected competitors who had changed the Galactic Olympics forever. On the journey home, Jack gathered the team one last time. "They thought they could keep us down by rigging the system," he told them. "They never understood what humans do best: overcome challenges, adapt, and persist." Lisa smiled. "They tried to cheat humanity."